What's going on, guys? Welcome to the 4th&Long podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Thrash. Joined is my good friend Jace Long and Carter Milton. What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
Man, we got a huge night of sports on a Monday. It's crazy. We got an NFL game. We got 4 NCAA men's basketball games, and then we got some NBA games. But we got some college football to talk about first and foremost. So takeaways from Week 12. Number 1, this is pretty easy. Georgia's the best team in the country. 38 regular season wins in a row, 28 total games in a row, including 2 national championships and an SEC championship. Against 4 ranked opponents this season, they have outscored them. They're outscoring them by an average of 28 points a game. That's ranked opponents. And they look destined for a three-peat.
Yeah, they look better every week, really.
Every week. Overrated. Carter wanted that upset, man. I wanted that upset.
Nick Saban and them times going to come down there and do what they got to do.
Man, that game's going to be fun. Oh, it's going to be fun. So, Jace, I think before the Florida game, we had that bet, and I said I would bet $1,000 that Georgia would lose one of the next 4. And they came through that with flying colors, man. 4 games, and the closest the team got was Missouri. And even then, we never really felt like Missouri was going to win that game, even though it was close. But we never got the feeling like Missouri might pull this off. Or I didn't, at least.
No, I didn't either.
My second takeaway, and I've heard a lot about this on Twitter and stuff, the Jordan Travis injury should not affect the team if they still go 13-0. Obviously, they still have 2 tough games. They have at Florida in the Swamp, which Florida's looking for a 6th win to get them into a bowl game, so they're going to be hyped for that one. Then versus Louisville for the ACC title, and Louisville probably got arguably their biggest win of the season, or their most impressive win of the season. Well, no, they beat Notre Dame. I can't say that. But they got a really good win on Saturday. But if Florida State wins these next 2 games, you can't keep them out, in my opinion. And I'm willing to listen to any argument you have. Just wherever you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't think they should be left out either. I mean, let them lose a game before you talk about, keeping them out.
Exactly. It's like you're punishing them for losing their best player. Like, how does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I heard earlier today on, I think, SDS, that they went out and scheduled 2 SEC non-conference games, so you can't fault them for that. They didn't have to put LSU or Florida on their schedule, and they did anyways.
Yeah, that's true. So,
Jordan Travis is a big deal anyway. He ain't complicated.
Oh my goodness, Carter.
Good Lord.
No, Jordan Travis, that was a heck of an injury. I don't know who the quarterback is.
Well, his name is Roadman, I want to say. Oh, Tate Roadmaker. And he looked all right Saturday in the backup role, but it was against North Alabama. And, I mean, when he got in, they were down 10-0, I want to say. So, during his time is when they scored 58 points. Then they won 58-13. They were down 13-0. So they scored all the points when he was on the field after the Jordan Travis injury, and that injury was gruesome too.
Yeah. Well, so do you think they skip a beat with Jordan Travis being out, or?
I think it definitely affects them. I think they get by Florida. I really do. Louisville, the way that defense is playing, man, they might get to them, but I do think they will lose one of the next 2. I really do.
So you think Louisville gets them?
I'd lean Louisville more than Florida, but at the Swamp night game, it could be cool in there. It could be really tough for that second string quarterback.
So is Jordan Travis eligible to return next year? Because I keep seeing all this breaking news about how he's done at Florida State.
Yeah,
what was the other option? I mean, I don't understand why it's breaking news.
He tweeted today that his college career is over. But I don't know if there was another option. So, yeah, I guess he didn't really even have to say that. And it was senior night, too, man, and he got walked out last. It's tough, man. Really tough. My third takeaway, and we'll talk about this in just a second, actually. Washington's win at Oregon State is one of the best of the season. I know that it's grouped into a lot of good wins on the season, but, man, that environment in Corvallis, Oregon on Saturday night was impressive. The rain and that offense, I mean, the offense didn't do anything in the second half, and we'll talk about that. But they put up 22 in the first half, and didn't even look like it phased them. The rain didn't. It looked like there were going to be delays in this game because of the rain, and they still just came through, even without not really a good performance from their offense.
I think it was a big win, one of the best of the season too. But the only reason I think that is because there's not very many big wins this year. I think.
Yeah,
I was ranking my top 5 best wins, and it was kind of hard to find 5 really good ones.
yeah, not many to choose from this year. There's not many upsets or anything.
That's what's really crazy. There aren't too many upsets. Let's go ahead and get into that. Carter, what's your top 5 best wins of the season?
Top 5 best wins of the season. Probably go the Ohio State and Notre Dame. Simply because I thought that Notre Dame was going to put it on all. That'll be my first top one. Then Washington beating Oregon because
that's your first one.
That's number 1.
What do you mean?
That's your first game. That's your best win of the season.
What do you mean?
Is that like that's number 1? That's the top of your list. That's the best win of the season by anybody. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That Ohio State Notre Dame win?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ohio State beating 3, lost Notre Dame.
They won 3, lost that point.
You're right. Yep. You're right. But number one is crazy, Carter. I got to say, number 1 is crazy. Keep going. Keep going.
How is that crazy?
Because we're about to introduce 2 or 3 more. That's over.
Yeah, boy, that was a bad pick.
How is that a bad pick?
It's opinionated, but Carter, that's a bad pick.
I don't understand how that's a bad pick.
All right, keep going.
At the time, that was a really good game.
At the time, for sure. Yep.
All right. Second would be Washington beating Oregon. Okay. Because I thought that Oregon was way better than Washington. I really didn't believe in Michael Penix at the point anyway. Then it'll be Oklahoma beating Texas for beat them. And then Texas and Alabama. That'll be 4.
I thought you forgot it. I thought you just looked past it. I didn't think it'd be on your list if you didn't have a number 1.
No.
This is your opinion, so I'm not going to talk too much crap.
You know, I'm talking to an expert again.
Dude, how do you got Ohio State beating 3, lost Notre Dame when they should have lost? They should have. You got to look at how it progressed over Texas beating the Alabama team that might be the best team in the country.
At the time, they were not a 3-loss team.
At the time, the Texas win was still better than the Notre Dame win.
I don't think so because they kind of changed the course of Notre Dame season. If they beat Ohio State, they probably have a total different season.
Yeah, you're right, but still,
until they played Louisville.
Louisville was good.
So they played Clemson.
Yeah.
Carter, I got to disagree with you on that one. I know it's your opinion, but I got to disagree.
What's your number 5? Did you say number 5?
Number 5, Carter.
I cut you off, my bad.
Number 5 is the Washington Oregon State. I kind of feel like everybody expected Washington to beat Oregon State anyway.
Okay. Jace, go ahead.
Number 1, this might catch you off guard. Texas, Bama. Number 2.
He's got jokes, Carter. He's got jokes.
Number 2, like I was trying to say, Washington over Oregon. Number 3 is Oklahoma over Texas. Number 4, Washington over Oregon State. Number 5, Georgia over Ole Miss.
Okay. I was struggling with that one. The only reason I would have that like in top 5 for me, that Georgia Ole Miss game, is because of the way they beat the hell out of Ole Miss. If it was
that's a good all the
exactly because all the hype around that game, like Georgia should have won that game because of the night and game, the environment, but they didn't have to beat them by 35 points.
No.
Jace, I agree mostly of your list. I'll give you my 5. 1 is Texas at Alabama. That's the best. That's got to be the best one of the season, definitively. It's got to be. Number 2, Washington versus Oregon, because I do believe Oregon is that good of a team, and that was in week 7. I know it was at Washington, so it wasn't like an away game or anything. It wasn't a tough environment at all. But still, to pull that one off, that's a heck of a win. That wouldn't make sense. Number 3 is Washington at Oregon State for me. I feel like that was one of the best wins of the season. I have it top 3, and it's up there for me. Number 4 is when Oklahoma beat Texas, and that's because I might take Oregon State over Texas. I know that might be questionable, but the way Oregon State's playing, I know they just lost, but the way they're playing, I might favor them over Texas. But in any way, it wasn't at home for Texas. Oklahoma didn't have to walk into Austin, Texas, and beat them. But that's why I have that one under the Washington-Oregon State win. And then 5 for me is Ohio State and Notre Dame. Just because of that environment, the night game, both teams undefeated. It's a top 10 matchup, and Ohio State pulled that off somehow.
So, to be clear, we're talking about a week 2 victory that y'all calling the biggest game of the season.
Absolutely.
100%.
Carter, that's the best.
At this point in the season right now, you put Alabama versus Texas. What are we, week 12, going to week 12 right now? All right, say it's week 10, hypothetically speaking. And it's Alabama versus Texas. Do you think Texas will beat Alabama?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
I didn't think so week 2 either.
That's why it's the biggest win of the season.
Oh, my God. Come on now.
I see your point.
They almost beat them last season is what I'm saying. Texas almost beat Alabama last season.
And there would have been a hell of a win last season, but it wasn't at home.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like the Ohio State and Notre Dame game was a bigger deal than Texas versus Bama because they almost did it last season.
Nobody. I mean, people barely put Notre Dame.
With a better quarterback, actually. They almost beat him with Bryce Young there.
Oh, you're right.
I don't see what the argument is here.
Yeah, people don't even really bring up the Notre Dame win anymore for Ohio State.
I'm talking about the times of the seasons. What I'm talking about.
At the time,
okay.
You gotta see how it progressed too.
And if Notre Dame with all their losses now, and they play all, I say, okay, cool, that's an expected loss. I get it. But in week 4, it's totally different.
I mean, it is. It is just totally different from now, for sure.
Texas went to Alabama.
Carter, it was a night game.
Whooped the crap out of them.
I don't think it's a 12 o'clock game.
Well, the only reason we care about the Notre Dame win is because it was a night game in Indianapolis. Was it South Bend?
Yeah, South Bend, Indiana.
If it was a daytime win, we wouldn't give a damn about it. We wouldn't even be thinking about it, probably.
I forgot they played till you said something.
What does it matter at night and day? Like, what's the big deal with that?
Oh, Carter, it's a 3-point swing in night and day.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Odds makers, that's a 2 or 3 point swing right there.
Yeah, for real.
All right, continue.
All right, let's get into some game breakdowns. But that was fun. I'm glad we had that conversation. That was fun, Carter. Game breakdowns. Let's get into the game of the night. Number 5, Washington goes on the road and beats number 11, Oregon State, 22-20. This game, man, Washington didn't look fazed by the weather at all in that first half. Penix was on fire. Odunze was having one of the best games all season in that first half. He had 2 touchdowns. He had 106 yards on the night. But then that offense just froze up. I think they had 49 second-half yards on offense. And so that's what really impressed me this whole thing about this win was their defense. Like last week, how they held Utah scoreless. They held Oregon State to 10 points in the second half. And still, that's how they survived on their defensive side, surprisingly.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot of crap about Washington's defense. I know during the USC preview, they were triple-digit defense, total defense. And the past 2 weeks, they really showed up. It was a good defense on both sides, but Washington did enough to get it done.
Dylan Johnson had a pretty good game, had 89 yards, didn't get in the end zone. Jabbar Muhammad for Washington. We talked about it secondary, and it has been horrible pretty much all season. These past 2 weeks have been exceptions, but it has been pretty bad all season. Like you said, in the triple digits rankings-wise, he had 4 deflected passes and 2 interceptions in this ball game. 1 to start the second half when they were already up 12, and I thought it was going to be a blowout at that point. But Oregon State held them. They missed a field goal. And Oregon State had plenty of opportunities to win this ballgame.
Yeah, DJ looked like prime Clemson DJ.
He did not look good. He did not
look good. He
looked
me down for sure.
Under 50% passing, no touchdowns, under 200 yards, 2 interceptions. But Damian Martinez, man, he is one of the best backs in the country. 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. and he ran some people over in this game.
Yeah, he a bad man.
So, like I said, Oregon State had plenty of opportunities to win this game. Their last drive, they were down only 2 points. They were down 22-20, and they ran an 11-play, 5 minutes of 47 seconds of game time to get from their own 5-yard line to their own 47-yard line.
Dang.
5 minutes to get 42 yards, and they couldn't convert a 4th and 5. And then the most amount of trust that Kalen DeBoer can put in Michael Penix and Rome Odunze, 3rd and 3 at Oregon State's 40-yard line. Oregon State's out of timeouts. It's under 2 minutes left in the ball game, and they throw a back shoulder pass on 3rd and 3, a 20-yard completion, and that wins the game for them.
Yeah. It's a fun game to watch. All the rain and everything. It was really cool.
Yep.
Dunze? Is that his last name?
Man, I always say Odunze, and then I say Odunze, but I think it's Odunze.
I would say his NFL comparison has to be Mike Evans.
Okay.
Do y'all agree with that, or what would y'all say?
I'd say the way Mike Evans was at A&M, I can see the comparison. The way Mike Evans has been in the NFL, I can't really see it just because Mike Evans is so much bigger. But play style wise, I can see it. So hell of a win for Washington. We probably aren't going to do our top fives or anything tonight, but I have Washington as my number 2 team in the country after that win. I jumped them over Ohio State. I jumped them over Michigan just because I got to see some more from those teams, and we'll see some more from next week from those teams, so that'll be fun. Yeah. Let's go to the SEC matchup of the day. Not the best SEC game of the day. We'll talk about that. Number 1, Georgia versus number 18, Tennessee. Go in to number 18, Tennessee's home. 38-10, Georgia wins on the road. Carson Beck, another crazy day. 80% passing, 24 for 30, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Kendall Milton, 14 receptions.
14, that's crazy.
14. 66 yards and 1 touchdown. And Rosemead Saint, we haven't heard too much from him, but these past few weeks in the big games, he has came up. 7 receptions, 91 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him.
Mike Bobo has got this offense rolling. I didn't think he'd be able to do it. Not like what's his name did, the old OC.
Yeah, he went to Baltimore.
Yeah.
What's his name? Yeah, I said that wrong in the last podcast. I was talking about Stetson Bennett, and Mike Bobo didn't never got with Stetson Bennett.
But yeah, Mike Bobo's been a huge step forward. I think he's going to be looking at some head coaching opportunities. I think
absolutely, he absolutely is. Joe Milton, another question mark day for him. We're getting to the end of Joe Milton, so we won't really have to question too much longer. 17 for 30, 147 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Jalen Wright, the first play of the ball game, one rush, 75 yards. The rest of the day, 8 rushes for 15 yards after that.
Yeah, those numbers look bad because of the long run.
What were you thinking after that 75-yard touchdown run by Jalen Wright?
I was ready to come on this podcast with my Tennessee Orange on. That's what I was ready to do.
Not the Tennessee Orange.
Oh, yeah. Joe Milton, man, he's just so inconsistent. Like, I don't even know what to say about him anymore. I don't have any more faith in him or Tennessee. They're just big letdowns, what it is.
I don't know about the inconsistency anymore. These past 2 weeks have been horrible.
Fair.
He could just be below average. I think he's a below average quarterback. If I had to just put him in a box, it'd be a below average quarterback.
If you put Nico in, they would have won.
That's got some credibility to it. Dolly Parton came out. Peyton Manning came out. Man, they set the scene for this game.
They're about to start, though.
They did. Some more bragging about Carson Beck for this game breakdown. His last 4 games against Florida and then 3 ranked teams, Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, 1,173 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 interception in that 4-game span. It's like, when is this guy going to just have a horrible day against a good team? Like, I know he was at Georgia these past 2 years, so it's not like he's a true freshman walking in this, but he has not been in these environments whatsoever.
Heisman?
He's on a top 5, probably.
If they invite,
Daniels should run away with this Heisman.
Oh, absolutely.
Should be no conversation.
Nope. Shouldn't.
If they invite like 12 people, he'll be a Heisman finalist.
He'd be there before, what's his name? JJ.
Oh, God.
I got to stop bringing that up. I bring that up every podcast. That's got to be annoying. Georgia, they move on to Georgia Tech next week, and then the first playoff game, I guess the second playoff game, Alabama versus Georgia in the SEC Championship. I'm calling that a playoff game. Whoever wins going to the playoffs.
That is a national championship.
That's a national championship. Would you bet that one of those teams is winning it?
Yeah.
If you had to take those two teams or the field, you would take those two teams?
Yeah.
I think so too. I think I'd put all mine on Georgia, man. I'm that confident in them.
I would like to see my Ducks win it, but there's no way.
So for Tennessee, they have Vanderbilt next week. I think they're picked by 3 touchdowns. So I'm just going to assume they'll go 8-4. It's not good to assume, but I'm going to assume they'll go 8-4. How disappointing?
No, it's not good to assume.
How disappointing has the season been for Tennessee and Josh Heupel and all Tennessee fans?
I'd say it's been really disappointing coming off the high of last year. And Joe Milton had a lot of hype coming into this season. I guess the few times he played last year behind Hendon Hooker, he shined.
Yep. The Clemson game, that Vanderbilt game, he came in and they put 66 on them. So yeah, there were a lot of hype coming into the season behind him, and they didn't do good. I think their only bad loss is Florida. Florida dismantled them week 3. But I mean the other 3 games have been a top 10 and top 15 competition. Missouri, Georgia, and Alabama. It's just the way they lost those teams. Up 13 at Alabama looked like they're in the control, and then they don't score a point in the second half, and then they get obliterated by Missouri and obliterated again versus Georgia. So, yeah, it's a pretty disappointing season for Tennessee. Let's go to the Big 12, the Battle of Kansas. Number 21, Kansas State, 31-27 over number 25, Kansas. This was a back-and-forth game. Kansas got on there about 2 possessions, got on top for 2 possessions. So from midway through the first quarter all the way till 13 minutes left in the third, Kansas had 4 drives in a row that went for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's the only time they scored the whole day. They had 7 or 8 other possessions that they didn't score a point, but in those 4 drives, they had 4 touchdowns in a row. It was kind of crazy. And then after going up 27-16 earlier in the third, Kansas' last 4 drives were for 79 yards, a punt, interception, punt, interception. That's how they ended the ball game.
It was a fun game to watch. A lot of back and forth, and Kansas choked it away. They could have won this game. They had every opportunity to win this game.
Every opportunity. I know they were starting their third-string quarterback, but Devin Neal had a day. You wasted his game, man. 18 rushes, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just really disappointing game for Kansas.
Typical basketball school.
These are the 2 teams that are going to run the Big 12 for the next 5 years.
No, them Buffaloes don't have something to say about that.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
I'm not right about that at all.
I don't know either. I don't know. That's golly. Huge comeback for Kansas State, and it is a heartbreaker for Kansas to not break this streak. I want to say it's been 15, 16 years since they last beat Kansas. Kansas does have Cincinnati next week, and they still have a chance to win 8 regular season games and have a winning record in the Big 12 for the first time since 2007. So, a lot on the line for Kansas still.
Yeah, they still got something to play for.
For sure. Kansas State has Iowa State next week, and they get to keep their 9-win season streak alive for Chris Kleiman. They just got to win that game against Iowa State, and that'll be a tough one. Going to the Pac-12, number 17, Arizona, 42-18 over number 22, Utah. Noah Fafita. Boy, have we talked about him enough on this podcast. Good gosh. That man is a baller. He is a baller. What I just figured out today is that they will have Fafita, Tetaroa, I keep messing up his first name, McMillan, their best wide receiver, and Jonah Coleman should all be back next year. Like they shouldn't, unless they transfer, I don't see them going to the draft. They should all be back next year for this Arizona offense. And
Are
hopefully
they-
Jed Fish is back.
Are they staying in the Pac-12?
They are not. The Pac-12 is just dismantled.
Oh yeah. You told me that.
I don't know where they're going. They could be going to the Big Ten, but I'm not sure. I'll look that up real quick.
They're going to be a scary team regardless with all the players they have coming back.
Yep. That is going to be a heck of an offense, man. Oh, they're going to the Big 12. So Arizona's going to run things in the Big 12 next year.
Oh man, it just gets worse and worse for Coach Prime.
Dude, college football is going to be crazy next year. The conferences, the 12-team playoff. More on this game. Fafita went 22 for 30, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jonah Coleman, 90 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. And then McMillan, 8 receptions, 116 yards, and 1 touchdown. And he also threw a touchdown pass. I'm going to give you these first few drives of each team. And just, this is how they started the game, all right? Arizona, 75-yard touchdown drive where McMillan threw the actual passing touchdown. He caught the ball on like a wide receiver screen and threw it out of the backfield. Utah, 3 and out. Their punt was blocked, and Arizona took it back for a touchdown. So it's 14-0. About 3 minutes left in the or 3 minutes into the first quarter. Utah, 4 plays, 16 yards punt. Arizona, 80-yard touchdown drive. They're up 21-0. Utah, 3 and out. Arizona, 72-yard touchdown drive, 28-0, with 14 minutes and 50 seconds left in the second quarter.
It's just pure domination.
Domination. I've never seen Kyle Whittingham get done like that.
Well, Arizona showed up.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. That place was insane.
And the uniforms were nice. Camo.
Yep. So Utah has Colorado next week, and then we just got announcement that Cam, and then we just got the announcement that Cam Rising will return next season.
That game will not be pretty next week.
It won't. It won't. You're right. Arizona has Arizona State next week, and I did not know this, Carter. If Oregon loses to Oregon State and Arizona beats Arizona State, Arizona's in the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah. Both nations got to come with it.
What happened?
That's all that has to happen, Jason. Arizona's got to win next week. Oregon's got to lose to Oregon State. That's it.
And Arizona gets in.
Arizona's in the Pac-12.
Dang.
See, that's why that goes back to that Ohio State Notre Dame.
Oh, man.
It's time of the season. That's all it is, man.
Golly.
That's my point right there.
But yeah, I didn't know it was that close, man. I didn't know there was a big chance Arizona could get in. I thought a lot more had to happen.
Yeah, I saw him and I was like, he can't be serious.
Golly, I mean that.
Watch it make lose. Watch me lose next week.
Hey man, that Oregon State rivalry is just you never know. You really don't.
We lost last year, so.
Yep.
No, I think we won actually.
No, y'all lost. Y'all were up 34-17, I think, and lost 38-34. Oh, whatever. Number 3, Michigan. They beat Maryland 31-24. The defense provided 11 points for Michigan, and they won by 7.
Did you see the intentional grounding that was a safety?
Yes. Did you agree with that?
I truly think that he tried to throw it to the receiver. He just was way off.
It was just way off.
They were saying a lot about the wind catching the ball, and like a lot of the deep passes, you could see the ball just like stop midair.
Dude, Talia's just got some boneheaded plays, man.
Yeah.
Dude. Huh?
I said he was young.
I was about to say, how old is that man? I feel like he's been in Maryland since Tua was there.
He's probably about our age.
When he back in Alabama?
I don't know. That sounds right, though.
He's been in college since 2020 because I remember he visited LSU in 2019.
Okay.
What could have been, huh?
Ooh, dodged a bullet?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm kidding. He definitely can be good, but he was not good on Saturday. 21 for 31, 247 yards, 2 interceptions, and then like we just talked about the intentional grounding penalty that resulted in a safety and pretty much lost in the ball game. J.J. McCarthy, another game where they thought they can just win it on the ground. I mean, they were right, too. They won it on the ground and with their defense. 12 of 23, 141 yards, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns. There was one time in the end zone, he throws a pick. He gets rewarded with a defensive penalty. The next play, he throws a pick. It's insane. It's insane.
It's poor play.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And we'll see what happens next week. And this did happen last year. They barely escaped a okay Illinois team last year off a game-winning field goal the week before they played Ohio State. So you can never really judge them off of games like this, but we'll see.
I think this Michigan team stacks up so bad with an Alabama or Georgia or even a Florida State, like a very physical team that's not going to let you run all over them. This Michigan team might get ran over playing somebody like that.
Especially on the offensive side. I think Michigan's defense is good enough to stick with almost anybody, but their offense is bad. It really is.
Yeah. You force J.J. McCarthy to throw the ball, and they're going to lose. Terribly.
That's what it feels like. Blake Corum did have a pretty good day. Blake Corum's a good running back. He really is. 28 rushes, 94 yards. That's under 3 yards a carry, though. So the running game wasn't even great for Michigan. It was just that defense, and they just kept pounding it. 2 touchdowns for him, and they escape out of Maryland 11-0. This game was pretty exciting. I watched this whole game on Saturday. Didn't even have to go back and watch a replay or anything. Number 10, Louisville, escapes Miami 38-31. Louisville is 10-1, and Miami drops to 6-5. This is a hell of a win for Louisville. First of all, they clinch an ACC championship spot. And Jeff Brom, man, you gotta love what he's doing for that program. His alma mater, and his first year there.
It was a fun game to watch too. Both quarterbacks went over 300 yards. Didn't feel like a big time game though. The
stadium's just horrible at Miami.
It was really bad. And Miami had every chance to win this game and didn't.
Yes, they did. Miami went up 28-23 midway through the third, forced a Louisville 3 and out, drove to the Louisville 45 with the chance to go up 2 possessions and ruin the drive with a sack and a penalty. They could have went up 2 possessions late in the third, and it just didn't know how to happen, and Louisville found a way to win.
It's kind of like last week against Virginia or whoever they played.
Yeah, they just keep finding ways.
Yeah.
Yep. I saw that. Jace, you see that thing I sent you? Louisville has the most wins over teams that have winning records in the country. They have 6 wins against teams that have winning records, and that's the most in the country.
They might even be in the playoff.
I mean, they do have a shot. They do have to be.
They can replace Michigan.
So that changes everything for Louisville that Jordan Travis got hurt.
Yeah.
Because now that Florida State win doesn't look as good.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
So they would, I think Louisville's out. I don't think there's any way they get into the playoff now. I just realized that sucks, man.
They can replace Michigan. That's better for ratings anyway.
Better for ratings. I don't think it is better for ratings. People go watch Michigan now that all this is going on.
Yeah, probably.
And in the playoff, Jim Harbaugh is going to be on the sideline, so it'll be all over TV for sure. But dang, that sucks for Louisville. I just realized that. So Louisville has Kentucky next week, and then Florida State in the ACC championship. How should Miami feel after a 6 or a 7 win season if they win next week under Mario Cristobal?
I feel like they're trending up, so you got to be just a little bit excited about it.
They were 5-7 last year.
As long as you don't take a step back, give it some time.
Carter, you miss Mario Cristobal?
Nope, I'm good with Dan Lanning. Even though I thought he was Mario Cristobal still at the start of the season.
That's still crazy to me that Miami was able to pull Mario Cristobal from Oregon.
That's where he wanted to be. That's his place.
Oregon is such a better job than Miami.
Yeah, but that's home for him.
Glad he left.
Yep, that's home for him, man. Another Big 12 game, Oklahoma. I keep saying escapes, but, man, these teams are just escaping. Number 14, Oklahoma escapes Provo, Utah, and beats BYU 31-24. This is an impressive win for Oklahoma, in my opinion. Dylan Gabriel went out at halftime with a upper body injury, and they were tied at 17. And they still pulled this game off. BYU they had so many opportunities. It was tied 17-17. Late in the third quarter, They got to the goal line and threw a 100-yard pick six, and
No,
Oklahoma took the lead, 24-17. And then get this, BYU tied it up at 24, so it's a tie game again. They forced a 28-yard missed field goal. 28-yard is wild. He missed a field goal. Oklahoma did. And then 3 plays later, BYU fumbles at their own 25. And Oklahoma gets the ball and scores, and they go up 31-24, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, this really tested like the mental strength of OU, because they had to do it without their starting quarterback.
Yep.
Overcome all those opportunities that BYU had. And then that last drive where they held on to the ball, then the whole last drive to end the game, that was really impressive. Good clock.
Yeah, held on for 5 minutes.
All BYU needed is Zach Wilson.
Even last year, they need Puka Nacua.
Didn't need him to whoop on the Hogs.
Did not need that. Didn't need him to put 38 points on the Razorbacks. They'd have put 38 today. They'd have won this game too.
So, where do you think Oklahoma goes from here? As far like looking forward to next season, like you think are they moving confident in the game?
No, they're going to the SEC. Oklahoma and Texas.
Continue.
Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. What do you expect from them next year, Carter?
I don't expect nothing from Oklahoma.
Oh man, I don't know.
We know that Texas can contend with top SEC teams. So, according to y'all at least. So,
I can't argue. According to us, they beat the second best team in the SEC.
Week 2, whoop-de-doo. Good
oh
job.
My gosh! Oregon almost lost to Texas Tech in week 2.
We thought Colorado was one of the best teams in the nation in week 1.
We did not.
Yeah,
we did not think they were one of the best teams in the nation.
TCU was also number 17.
That's still a bad argument on your part because you're saying that it was week 2. Yeah, yours Notre Dame lost in week 2 and then progressively got worse.
I think Notre Dame lost in week 4, actually.
It was week 4, yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
It still didn't age.
Week 2 where TCU was still ranked and all this.
Because they went to the national championship.
Where they on there?
I mean, they ain't no good, but I'm just saying you can't go from national championship to unranked.
Well, they should have.
Oh man, I don't get this argument, Carter. I don't get the early season argument.
I don't either.
Early season, like I understand the undefeated team, they get it, but if we're basing big wins off something that happened at the start of the season compared to something that happened later in the season, it's kind of offset in my opinion.
What makes Ohio State beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame better than Bama losing to Texas at Bama?
At that point in time,
it's 2 weeks apart.
If Notre Dame beats Ohio State, I'm willing to bet money that they have a way better season at this point.
What does that mean, Carter? If Alabama beats Texas, they're the number 1 team in the nation right now, besides Georgia, maybe.
Exactly.
Probably so. But what I'm saying is, it's still a week 2 victory. That's all I'm saying.
You're supposed to lose week 2?
I'm not saying you're supposed to lose, but it's not that big of a deal to me, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think the timeline doesn't matter. The games are only 2 weeks apart.
Carter, Florida State's best win is week 1.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think Florida State's that good, to be honest.
I don't understand what we're arguing about. I think you're arguing both sides without even knowing it.
Like, you can't go either way with it because he agrees with you. All right, moving on. Oklahoma. This is all Oklahoma needs to be in the Big 12 championship. And a Big 12 championship would save their season. It really would. And not to say they had a bad season. They went 6-7 last year, and they had the potential to go 10-2 into a bowl game this year. This has been a really good season for Oklahoma, just disappointing after the Texas win. Oklahoma has TCU next week. If they win and Texas loses to Texas Tech, they're in the Big 12 championship. Now, that's a lot easier said than done because I don't think Texas is losing to Texas Tech. It's not like the Arizona and Oregon one, in my opinion. But that's all they need.
Yeah, I think I don't think Texas loses next week, though.
Texas Tech's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Now, BYU, I said it wrong, guys. I didn't last week. Or I might have been talking to Carter. I said that BYU was 5-1, and they've lost 4 straight. They've lost 5 4 games in a row now. They were 5-2, and now they've lost 4 straight games. So they're 5-6 now. They have Oklahoma State next weekend, and if they win that, they're in a bowl game. But it's at Oklahoma State, and I don't see that happening for BYU. So a tough transition to the Big 12 for BYU, but I don't really know what people expected from them.
BYU going to the Big 12?
They're in there now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, that's why they playing all these Oklahoma State teams, Texas 2 weeks ago. It's been a tough season for them.
I didn't even know it come from BYU, man, to be honest.
Yeah, they moved last year. They moved with 4 teams. So Houston, BYU, UCF, and Cincinnati are all in the Big 12 now. And then Texas and Oklahoma are leaving, and we saw Arizona and Colorado are coming. So just changes everywhere, dude. But it's cool, though. Clemson, we called this one. I think we all 3 picked Clemson to win this game. It wasn't really a surprise or anything. 31-20 over number 20, North Carolina. And North Carolina had so many missed opportunities. Omarion Hampton, he's tied for first in the country with rushing yards with Ollie Gordon. And he has been a stud. He had a monster game in this one. But in the first quarter, he fumbled twice. One was at the 7-yard line, about to score a touchdown. The other one, they were already up 7-0. He got the ball knocked out at the 1-yard line, and it goes for a touchback. So that's 2 touchdowns they missed out on because of Omarion Hampton fumbled. And guess how many times he's fumbled all season? 2.
Oh, it's a good guess.
All his fumbles were in this first quarter in the red zone of this ballgame.
And then on the other side, Will Shipley looked like prime 2007 Jacob Hester.
Shipley had 126 yards, 1 touchdown. Maffa, that duo right there has been awesome for Clemson. That's what really turned this ship around for him. He had 23 rushes, 84 yards, and a touchdown. So big day for them. Drake May, lowest completion percentage all year and second lowest yard total of the season.
He's so overrated. My God.
I can't disagree with you in games like this, and I really can't, man.
So overrated.
Yeah, he hasn't lived up to the hype.
Not at all.
Nope. So, in y'all's opinion, how should Clemson fans feel right now? 3 straight wins. They're at South Carolina next week, where they could finish the season 8-4. Dabo could be going to A&M, and I just don't know how they should feel right now.
I mean,
Dabo's not going to A&M. That's
Got to be happier than 3 weeks ago, right?
Then Radler is going to spoil the party.
Oh, boy. Hey, Jace, you can't say shit about that. We called that.
anyways, the game we're talking about right now.
Okay.
The question you just asked me.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about it later.
So people will have recency bias. That's the thing, you know. They've looked really dominant the past 3 weeks. I think they're pretty content where they are. They're trending up. The future looks bright right now.
Yeah, it's just like the fall down from being a playoff contender. I mean, even last year, to the last week, they were in playoff contention till they lost to South Carolina. So it's just the fall down from that. I just don't know how fans should feel right now for Clemson. But I mean, you got to feel better than when you were 4-4. Now 7-4, and now could go to a pretty good bowl game. Well, let's get to the best SEC game of the day. Number 9, Missouri beats Florida 33-31 in a walk-off field goal. Man, Missouri, they go to 9-2, and Florida falls to 5-6. This is a hell of a game. Probably it could have been the best game of the day.
Yeah, Schrader might be the second best running back in the nation.
Who's first to you? Ollie Gordon?
Probably Blake Corum.
Blake Corum? Okay. He's definitely up there.
Holy shit. That man reminds me of CMC.
I got you.
A beast, for sure.
That speed was next level. We got another Luther Burden game. 9 receptions, 158 yards. Brady Cook was excellent. And this team just felt no pressure at all. I mean, they were down 1 with 40, or they were down 1 with 1:30 left. It took a 4th and 17 that they had to convert, and they did it easily. Luther Burden was wide open in the middle of the field. They then go down 27 more yards and set Mevis up for just a chip-in shot to win the ball game.
Yeah, Luther Burden, what I like a lot about him is that he's a receiver that no matter the situation, 4th and 17, you can look for him, throw in the ball, and he's going to make it happen.
Yeah,
I don't know what defense Florida was in. They were in zone. A linebacker was in front of Burden, but about 10 yards in front of him. He didn't even get to the first down. Like the linebacker didn't get depth enough to get to the first down.
Do y'all think that this is Missouri's high? This is their ceiling?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, man, they could have beat LSU. They could have beat LSU. They could be 11. They could be 10-1 right now.
Yeah. I mean, and there's situations where they could have beat Georgia.
They could have beat Georgia for sure.
I mean, man, so that's why I can't put a ceiling. Like, in my opinion, it's different from an Ole Miss ceiling. This Missouri team is. But a lot of people think that Missouri and Ole Miss are kind of on the same tier, and I probably would put them on the same tier, but the ceiling is just a little bit bigger for Missouri to me.
Is this the best Missouri team of all time?
They got that 2013 one where they won the SEC East.
They did do that. I forgot with Drew Lock.
They went Drew Lock. Oh, they had Matty Mock on the first one.
Oh, okay.
And then I think the second one maybe had Drew Lock. I don't know. But it was the year that Auburn beat them, and it was one of the highest scoring games in the SEC championship ever. That was the crap. What's his name?
Nick Marshall.
Nick Marshall. That was a Nick Marshall year. And Auburn's running back that year had 300 yards on Missouri in that SEC championship game.
Golly.
What was his name? Man, I'm going to have to look it up. I think they won 59-42, I think.
You see that catch by Khalil Jackson? That one hand on two people?
Yeah, that was crazy.
The Florida receiver?
Oh, yeah. But, man, Florida had plenty of opportunities to win this game. And then at the same time, I mean, Graham Mertz suffered a collarbone fracture in the third quarter. And his backup, Graham Mertz is out for the season. Max Brown came in, and he looked really good. He made one mistake, and that was just fumbling at Mizzou's 15 earlier in the fourth quarter. And then that's when Missouri, 2 plays later, went up 30-21. But then, man, he didn't feel the pressure at all, led 2 great drives in a row to go up 31-30, and Missouri did the rest. This is a tough loss for Billy Napier.
Yeah, was that Auburn running back? Was it Trey Mason or Artis Payne?
Trey Mason.
It was.
I think they had Artis Payne too, though.
Yeah, they did.
Trey Mason. Yeah, I think he had 304 yards in that SEC championship game. So Missouri has Arkansas next week, and they have the potential, they have the opportunity to win 10 games for the first time since 2014, the year after the year we're talking about. So they came. So this is the thing. Missouri came over in 2012 with A&M with Johnny Manziel. The next year, they won the SEC East. They go to the SEC Championship. That's when Auburn beats them. The next year, they go to the SEC Championship and Alabama beats them. So 2 years in a row, they won the SEC East. It's easy to forget about that.
Fun fact: my boy Johnny Manziel could have been an Oregon Duck.
Really?
Yep. He was committed to Oregon.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Pissed me off.
Purdue really just beat Gonzaga. Wow. I'm ready for this NFL game tonight, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, all right, back to Florida. Billy Napier in Florida, 5-6. Is a huge loss for them. They have Florida State next week to be bowl eligible. Florida State will now start the second stringer. So that place could be rocking next week, and it really could be exciting for Florida next week. Now, Billy Napier is banking on a 2024 recruiting class, and that's kind of where all his chips are right now.
That one thing no one's talking about is how bad that Florida defense has been this year.
So bad. It's so bad.
Terrible.
Man, LSU, Georgia, Mizzou,
South Carolina, Arkansas.
That's just horrible.
South Carolina put up 39 points. Arkansas put up 36 on them.
KJ, he ran wild on Florida's defense.
And then Jaden Daniels ran 3 football fields on them.
The only reason LSU stopped scoring is because the game was over.
Oh man, so yeah, that was a tough loss for Florida. We were watching at the at that bar, Carter.
Yeah.
I really thought Florida was going to pull it off. But Missouri keeps their New Year's Six Bowl hopes alive. I don't know what bowl Missouri will go to. I don't know which New Year's Six Bowl. Which one Tennessee go to? The Orange Bowl last year, I think.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what bowl game the SEC goes to. That's not a playoff game.
The bowl games don't even matter anymore.
They're gonna matter next year when we got 12 of them. It matters getting to one. That might be all that matters. It matters getting to one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some interesting games. The Pac-12. We'll finish off the Pac-12. Washington State keeps their bowl hopes alive, 56-14 over Colorado. What would y'all have said if I would have told you Colorado would win 4 games after their 3-0 start? Because they got Utah next week, and I would not say they're beating Utah. So they're 4-8. What would y'all say about that?
Man, I would have expected them to get at least 2 more.
It's better than 1-11, I think, or 1-12, or whatever it was.
4 times that.
But I had high expectations for Colorado. But
For sure.
given the season that Shadur had, that man had a crazy season given his offensive line, his record, that last loss they just had. But, I think they'll be a little bit better next year. But
Yep.
I think they'll be better.
There's a lot worse moods you can be in as a fan of a 4-8 team than being a Colorado fan. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like Arkansas, if we finish 4-8 next week, which we most likely will, be a whole lot different feeling than if I'm a Colorado fan.
Next year is count for that game.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. So Washington State was up 42-7.5 in this ball game. And this offense, this Washington State offense, it's had the potential to do this all season. Not in this capacity, because 42 points in the first half is crazy. But Cam Ward has been a fantastic quarterback. They just can't win games. I mean, 3,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He started off the year with 13 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And, I mean, he just did not have the year they wanted. But next week, they have Washington. Imagine they blow all that up.
That'd be amazing.
That would be. Man, Carter just
Imagine
hopped off.
Imagine if Washington loses and Florida State.
Then with two SEC teams get in, if Alabama beats Georgia. How would that work? How would they do that?
Could you imagine if Oregon, Washington, and Florida State lost? We get Texas in there.
Yeah. Texas would be the happiest. Louisville would be the happiest. Shit, Missouri might try to get in there.
And Ole Miss might plead their case.
They only got 2 losses. Yep. Could be a crazy week 12. It really could be.
Sweet 13.
Damn. Man, edit that part out. Could be a crazy week 13. Could be a crazy week 13. Let's stay in the Pac-12. UCLA, 38-20 over USC. Another question for you. What would you have said in early October when USC was 6-0 that they would lose 5 of its last 6 and finish 7-5? What would you say about that?
Yeah, I didn't expect them to be that bad. I remember texting you earlier in the year saying, I don't think USC is a very good team, but I didn't think they were that bad. Because this is pretty much the same team they had last year.
I know it. That's what's crazy. I mean, just another bad defense. It might be worse than last year's, but still. I mean, they got better weapons they had last year, in my opinion.
How does somebody like Caleb Williams ever look? I mean, he never looks bad, but how does he have a down year?
Exactly. Man, 31 out of 42 in this game, 384 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And, I mean, obviously didn't have a bad game, but it's weird, man. And USC does not have a running game whatsoever.
No.
Brennan Rice, their receiver, 8 receptions, 147 yards, and a touchdown. But the story of the day, UCLA, Ethan Garbers, their second stringer. He was only second stringer because they wanted to try out Dante Moore at the beginning of the season. He had a pretty good day, 3 touchdowns. TJ Harden, their running back, 22 rushes, 142 yards, 1 touchdown. Chip Kelly has not been fired yet, so I guess if he won that game, they weren't going to fire him. I don't know what they're going to do.
He getting fired.
You said he is?
Yeah, he's getting fired.
He is. He is at some point. I just don't know when. They play Cal next week. I doubt they lose to Cal. I guess it might be the end of the season.
They're about to run the whole state in, aren't they? If they beat Cal, that'd be all of California.
UCLA, USC. Maybe. What's some more California teams? I don't know.
Where's Fresno at? Fresno State, California.
I think so. So what UCLA has to worry about, the university, is by not firing Chip Kelly or by firing him, what is Dante Moore going to do? Like, I know he has not had a great season whatsoever, but I mean, he is a 5-star and he is making millions, I assume.
He'll probably transfer to USC.
And he could. So, Jace, speaking of that, how should USC fans feel? How should they feel about Lincoln Riley? This is his first time ever losing more than 3 games in a season. He lost 5.
You can't feel good about it because it ain't like he's just in a hard place to win. He has every reason to win there. He has a good team. You can't feel good about the defense because his track record, you're never going to have a good defense, it seems like.
He fired Grinch, but he let this team score 38 points on them. And UCLA does not have a good defense whatsoever. I mean, good offense whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, you can't feel good about it regardless.
Nope. And then plus they're moving in the Big Ten, Jace, which I know we're down in the Big Ten this year. But those top 3 teams, or top 2 teams, plus they're getting Oregon. They're getting, who else are they getting? They're getting UCLA. I mean, they're getting Washington, I believe. I don't know what you'd be confident in right now as a USC fan. Obviously, they have the recruits. They have the NIL, the transfer portal. Who doesn't want to play for USC if you're an offensive player? But still, the defense. And I don't know anything about their second-string quarterback or what quarterback they have coming in, because that's probably Caleb Williams' last game ever.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I don't think he'll play in the bowl game.
Yeah, what would be the point of it?
Exactly. Their season's already over because they played week 1. They put their second bye week, the last week of the season. Kind of weird. Let's move on to, surprisingly, the Sun Belt. We don't have to spend much time on this, but Appalachian State spoiled JMU's big day. This game was 17-5, App State, until 8 minutes left. Then James Madison outscored them 15-3 to tie it at 20 and force overtime.
Yeah, it was a good game for college game day to be it. But I think if you're James Madison, you can't have all that hype and crap about deserving a bowl game and lose like that.
I know it. I was thinking about that. And they still deserve a bowl game, for sure. But it's just all that hype, and you do that. You put up 5 points till 8 minutes left.
And people say that's a good App State team. That's an App State team that has 5 losses.
Yeah. Yep. 4 losses, 7-4, but still, that's not a great App State team. I don't even think it's last year's App State team.
No.
Did you see the ending of this game in overtime?
I didn't.
So, App State held them to a field goal. So it's 23-20, James Madison. All right. So all they need is a touchdown. They catch the ball. It's an 8-yard pass. The goal line, he catches the ball. The ball's right here. The goal line's on my right. All right. The ball gets right here, and then it gets knocked out for the end zone for a touchback. And they call it a touchdown already. And so they go to review it, and the game is in the ref's hands. If it's a touchback, JMU wins. If it's a touchdown, App State wins. And that's never a good thing. Never a good thing to have the game in the ref's hands. App State got the call, but man, it was close. If you get time, go look at this, because it's so close. And James Madison loses the first game. They play Coastal Carolina next week to see who wins the Sun Belt East. So still a lot of big games for JMU and the Sun Belt, man. It's getting exciting the last 2 weeks. Another Sun Belt game, Jace. Arkansas State put up 77 points on a good Texas State team. A good Texas State team.
They also have 5 losses, don't they?
This team, yeah, they do. They were 6-4 going to this game. Now they're 6-5. They dominated Baylor week 1. Texas State did. They then put up 77 points on a Dion-less Jackson State team. I will give you that. And then Arkansas State lost its first 2 games 110-3.
My gosh.
You remember that Oklahoma game?
Yeah, Bush Jones was crying.
Well, he's crying this way because they got to a bowl game. No, I don't think he cried yesterday. But they just lost to South Alabama last week, and they put up 77 points on this team. It's insane. They were down 17-14 with 9 minutes left in the first half. Jaquez Cross ran for 3 touchdowns in the second quarter alone. They're up 35-17 at halftime. And in the second half, the offense, they scored 2 touchdowns. The offense did. Jaquez Cross ran a kickoff back for a touchdown, so that's a special teams touchdown. And the defense added 3 touchdowns. 2 pick sixes and 1 91-yard scoop and score. It's crazy. 77 points on that one.
77.
77. Mountain West, Jace. Won't spend much time on this one either. This was the Mountain West Conference Championship before the actual championship in 2 weeks. These teams will most likely meet up again. That's pretty cool, actually. Air Force is coming off 2 straight losses to 2 horrible teams in Army and Hawaii. And UNLV is coached by Barry Odom, our Arkansas's defensive coordinator. So he has them in prime position to win the Mountain West Conference in his first year. And they definitely can do it. UNLV improves to 9-2, and Air Force improves to 8-3. Or they've lost 3 straight now, so they're 8-3. Started off 8-0.
Yeah, Air Force really fell off pretty quick.
For sure. Air Force was up 24-7 in this game, and then did not score again in the second half. And UNLV pulled it out.
Seemed like a trend this weekend.
For sure. A lot of games like that. Number 7, Texas, goes into Ames, Iowa, and for the most part dominates at least the second half. They ran away with it in the second half. They were up 6-3 at halftime, and Quinn Ewers had a good game. Jonathan Brooks is second stringer because he got some games before that. C.J. Baxter put up 117 yards on this Iowa State defense. 9 yards rushing for Iowa State in this game. They scored a touchdown to make it 13-9 with 2 minutes left in the third. Texas blocked the extra point, took it for 2 points. It's 15-9. Then they go score a touchdown and they go up 23-9, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, it was a pretty slow, boring game.
It was. I don't know if it was. I think it was raining in this one as well. Texas has Texas Tech next week. We already talked about that, and they need a win to clinch Big 12 championship appearance. But I think if some other things happen, they're in. But a win would clinch it. Next in the Big 12, number 23 Oklahoma State survives Houston. Houston was up 23-9 late in the second quarter in this game at about midfield, and Donovan Smith threw an interception. They were up 2 touchdowns, could maybe go up 3 possessions, and then they threw a interception, and Oklahoma State went up 36-23 midway through the fourth, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, I remember checking scores when it was 23-9 or whatever. I was like, my gosh, Oklahoma State. And then I remember looking back at the score and texting y'all. I'm like, what the heck happened? So I was trying to watch all these games going on. I didn't have time to watch that one. So I was checking the score.
27 straight unanswered points for Oklahoma State. And if they win against BYU next week, they're in the Big 12 championship. Houston falls out of bowl eligibility, and a disappointing year for Dana Holgorsen. It really is. Ollie Gordon had another good day. He bounced back from last week's performance. 25 rushes, 164 yards, and 3 touchdowns in this one.
He's the workhorse of the team for sure.
He is. So Big Ten games, Jace. Number 16, Iowa beats Illinois 15-13. Iowa clinches the Big Ten West. They are 9-2 right now. They have Nebraska next week. They could go 10-2. And this game was pretty much close. Illinois controlled it for most of the game, and Iowa scored midway through the fourth quarter. They got their extra point blocked, so kept it 15-13, and then forced a turnover on downs with 3:44 left and ran the clock out to win it.
Such a Big Ten game, man. I'm sorry if you're an Iowa fan. I bet it's excruciating.
10 wins, and you're still playing like that. It was a cool, but it was an awkward scene for Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator for Iowa, because he knows he's getting let go at the end of the season. And he should know that these 10 wins are not because of him at all. I mean, these last 4 games for Iowa scoring wise, and I know they've been bad scoring all season, but it's been horrible. I think the most they've scored was 22 against Rutgers last week.
So bad.
Another Big Ten game, Wisconsin steals this ball game from Nebraska. Nebraska scored a touchdown with 6 minutes left in the first quarter to go up 14-0, and they did not score another point until 4 seconds left in the game to tie it at 17 and send it to overtime. Wisconsin scored a touchdown, and Nebraska threw an interception, and that was the ball game. Nebraska has to beat Iowa next weekend to get into a bowl game. Wisconsin and Luke Fickell secure a bowl game appearance at 6-5.
Yeah, I called this one wrong. I thought this would be a good win for Matt Rule.
I can't remember what I said about this one, but I did not expect them to go up 14-0. I'll tell you that. Let's get into the SEC. New Mexico State just shocks Auburn 31-10.
How does that even happen?
It is insane, man.
If you watch the game, New Mexico State, they just accidentally do this. Like, they were more physical. It's just complete domination.
It was, man. It was. Some crazy stats for this game, Jace. Auburn paid New Mexico State $1.85 million to come to Jordan-Hare. Also, the last time a team that was picked to lose by 20+ won by 20+, New Mexico State last year against Hugh Freeze.
So he just got his number.
He can't beat New Mexico State. He can't do it.
That is his kryptonite.
Horrible loss for Auburn. After I thought they kind of figured it out on the offensive side against Mississippi State. And I think they played Vanderbilt. And then, of course, last week, 48 points on Arkansas. Staying in the SEC, South Carolina upsets Kentucky, even though I think they were picked to lose by 3 or 4 points. But it's a huge win for South Carolina. Rattler had a good day. Leggett, 2 touchdowns, and he caught the game-winning pass in this one.
I don't know where you go from here if you're a Kentucky fan.
I was just about to ask you, how should Kentucky fans feel right now?
It can't be good. No one there can be a Mark Stoops supporter.
You can't, man. You can't. I don't know how. I don't know how they do it. But then again, I mean, we'll talk about Sam Pittman later. It's like you just settle for mediocrity.
Remember that big thing he got into the offseason with John Calipari about how it's a football school now and all that?
Yes,
can't do
yes,
that. You can't do that after that.
You cannot. Kentucky hosts Louisville next week. Or no, they're at Louisville next week. Could be a big game for them. Could be a huge win and send off the season right 7-5. This team started off 5-0, and now they've won 1 of its last 6 games. On the other hand, South Carolina, they host Clemson next week. And if they win, they're in the bowl game, man.
That'll be a fun game to watch.
For sure. Let's move on to the game I know you want to talk about. LSU beats Georgia State 56-14. Go ahead and give me Jaden Daniels' stats.
I don't even know them off the top of my head. I know it's 500 total yards, 8 touchdowns.
8 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns throwing the ball. He was held in check on the ground, only 96 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Held in check? What?
No, I'm just kidding. I had to throw that in there, man.
I will.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the 3 receivers that went over.
3 100-yard receivers. Neighbors, 2 touchdowns, 140 yards. Brian Thomas, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. And Kyron Lacey, 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's crazy.
Kyron Lacey needed a game like that. He's always dropping a pass or something.
I got you.
But one thing I will say about Brian Kelly, I still don't know how to feel about him as an LSU coach. I know it's year 2. But I will say, him pounding the drum for Jaden Daniels to be a Heisman, I love it. And it would kind of, I mean, a lot of people might disagree, but for me, it would kind of make up for a disappointing season if we had a player win the Heisman.
I was just about to say, if LSU hosts A&M next week, and it's not assume you win or anything, because A&M is a good team. I know they have their third-string quarterback in, but it might look better with that third-string quarterback. They host A&M. How would a 9-3 season feel for you? With or, let's just say, without a Heisman for Jaden? Let's just say as a team.
I mean, for me, it feels bad as a fan because I knew coming into the season that the secondary was going to be bad. But this offense, man, this is a national championship caliber offense, and it's just absolutely ruined by defense that bad.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's
I mean, I can't be like super mad. I'd be satisfied that because we beat A&M, win a bowl game, they'd be back-to-back 10-win seasons coming off the disaster that Ed O had.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I can't be too mad.
I wish Carter was on. I'd ask him about this. Moving on to Oregon. Bo Nix, a stellar day for him. 6 touchdowns throwing the ball, 404 yards. They host Oregon State next week, a top 15 matchup, and then Washington the next week if they win. So it could be 2 top 15 wins. Then that Washington win would just be phenomenal for them. So how confident are you that Oregon gets into the college football playoff?
I'm pretty confident they beat Washington. And I'm pretty confident that Florida State loses one. So I'd say probably 70-ish%.
Okay. I think because I'm confident in them winning the next 2, I don't think the committee would hold them out. After beating Oregon State and then Washington, I don't think they could hold them out. I really don't. So I'm pretty damn confident in Oregon to make it to the playoff. But they got to win those 2 games first, and that's a tough ask.
And Oregon has a reputation of dropping these games late.
Late, for sure. Just threw Arkansas in here just because I want to talk about Sam Pittman and stuff. We beat FIU. KJ Jefferson throws 3 touchdowns. He's now Arkansas's all-time leading touchdown passer, which is so cool to me. I know he's had a disappointing season, but he's most likely coming back next year. He can just add to that. Because of this, and probably not because we beat FIU, if we lost to him, he was probably gone. But we decided to keep Sam Pittman around. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I like Sam Pittman. I think y'all will end up firing him next year.
Yeah, I think so too. This is the ultimate prove it year for Sam Pittman, even though you could say this year was too.
I mean, hey, he could come back. There's a lot of coaches that have been down and then had the one season like Eli Drink this year. I mean,
yep,
he's had no good anything at Mizzou until this year. I mean, Sam Pittman can do that. I don't know. I feel like he might be stuck in his ways and just have a repeat of what y'all did this year. Because, I don't even know why Arkansas is bad.
That's what's so annoying, man. The defense has been a total flip from last year. I mean, even though Auburn just put up 48 on us last week, so I can't say too much great about them. But Travis Williams has been a great defensive coordinator hire, and I think he'll stick around most likely. We have to figure out what we're going to do at offensive coordinator. But, Sam Pittman got this job with 2 really good offensive coordinators and 1 good defensive coordinator, we thought. But, Kendall Briles was good at Arkansas. No matter how much people hated him and wanted him gone, I can see why. His play calling sometimes was weird, but, he had that offense rolling. And so if we find the offensive coordinator, we can win 7 or 8 games next year. I probably wouldn't see us winning more than that. And I'd be fine with that as a fan. I'd be fine with that for next year.
Yeah, you don't need to be fine with that. That's what's wrong with Arkansas.
That's true, but for next year, I'm fine with that. Well, you think I should expect to win 9 or 10 games next year with Texas and Oklahoma coming in? I know our schedule does not look tough at all, but this year's schedule after that 5-game stretch didn't look tough.
It can't get worse.
I hope not. God, I hope not. Theoretically. I hope not, man. All right, let's get to some questions. Who won the weekend for you, Jason? You can name multiple teams or one.
I have a 5-way tie.
Okay. Don't steal mine. Don't steal all my teams.
I don't even know what you had. Oh, no. I'm thinking about something else. So who won the weekend? I think Washington. That's a big win. It's Oregon State. Did I steal your team?
Yes.
You want me to pick somebody else?
No, go ahead. I got 3 teams too. I just hope you don't pick all 3.
No, that's all I had was Washington.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Washington definitely won the weekend, in my opinion. Carter said that not a lot of people thought Washington would win this game, but Oregon State was picked to win this game. They were picked by 2.5 points to win this game, and most analysts, I thought Oregon State would do it. I thought, and many people on ESPN and Game Day, they thought Oregon State would do it. Just what a way for them to shut people up for at least a week. They got Washington State this coming weekend and then the Pac-12 championship, and they'll have to prove it again. But hell of a weekend for Washington. New Mexico State also getting that win. And then I threw in South Carolina just because they're keeping their bowl eligibility, at least for another week. And that was a big win against Kentucky for them. Who lost the weekend, Jason?
Florida State.
Yes, they did. Oh, man, I hate it for them. I hate it for Jordan Travis. It sucks.
That great season might just all go down the drain now.
I know it,
Could you
man. I know
imagine
it.
them going undefeated and not making the playoffs? How much of a slap in the face that would be?
Hell, you know how messed up that'd be, man. And the committee would do it. That ain't something they wouldn't do.
Especially if the teams behind them are rolling and they are barely, to say they win against Florida by like 3 and they beat Louisville by 1 or 2, then they might get left out.
That's what would suck. And I understand that as a fan, like you want the best teams with their best players in the playoff, and you might want an Alabama over a Florida State. And I'm not really disagreeing with that, but I mean, let's just be an undefeated ACC champ. You got to put them in there, man.
Yeah.
So obviously, Florida State, Auburn lost the weekend. Pretty damn bad.
Auburn lost a lot of money this weekend.
Yes, they did. And then James Madison lost the weekend.
Yeah,
They lost the weekend.
That's pretty rough.
Having game day come down there and, I mean, missing a Oregon State-Washington game because they wanted to give you respect and stuff, and you put up 5 points midway through the fourth quarter. Pretty bad look. Also, USC, 5th loss of the season. Wild.
Did you see the Michigan 1,000 win thing?
I know. I saw it on ESPN, but I didn't watch it.
Well, I was listening to a guy talk about it. And you know, some of the wins they have claimed under their 1,000 wins. You know, one of them is against Ann Arbor High School.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was like an alumni game. They claim a win. All kinds of crazy stuff. But I mean, they're not the only team that does that. Apparently, like a lot of teams have done that. Like Bama has a win over the Birmingham School for the Deaf. All kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
How long ago was that? Did it say?
Nah, I mean, I'm sure it did, but I didn't look into it that hard.
Dang, man.
They only beat Ann Arbor High School 66-0. That's pretty bad.
Pretty bad. You think we could have contended with some D1 college teams, Jason?
Yeah, definitely.
Probably. I'd say so.
Yeah.
All right, performances of the weekend. You can name multiple or however many you want.
I got a 4-way tie.
All right.
Luther Burden, because 4th and 17, man. Good gosh.
Golly.
Jaden Daniels, because Heisman, that man.
Yep.
Bo Nix, because he basically did the same thing, just a little worse. And Will Shipley.
Okay. I got Jaden Daniels as well. 8 touchdowns. Dylan Gabriel had 8 touchdowns last week, and Jaden Daniels does it this week. Bo Nix, 6 touchdowns passing. McMillan for Arizona, he had 2 receiving touchdowns. Then he had a passing touchdown the first drive of the ball game. Jaquez Cross for Arkansas State, man. Let me get you his stats. 13 rushes, 139 yards, 3 touchdowns rushing, 166 kick return yards, and a kick return touchdown. So he's in my performance of the week, man.
I can get on board with all of them.
Yes, sir. All right, man. You got anything else?
I have a question, an LSU question.
All right.
Do you think Jaden Daniels is the best player Brian Kelly's ever coached? He had Manti Te'o. He had one of the Kelseys at Cincinnati, I'm pretty sure.
I forget about his Cincinnati days, but I remember us having this conversation. Trying to think of some quarterbacks Notre Dame had. Everett Golson. You remember Everett Golson?
No. He had the stud played for the Saints. Ian Booker.
Ian Book?
Yeah, Book, yeah. I'm thinking Booker T.
Booker T. Do the spin around?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some players, but that's just because it interests me. But no, Jaden Daniels is the best player he's ever coached.
I don't know.
Who would you argue? You named Manti Te'o. Would you argue Manti Te'o?
I mean, Manti Te'o was a linebacker that made the Heisman finalist.
You're right, man. But that's because that whole defense, and it's because the score was so close. He had to come up with so many plays because they had no offense.
That's true.
but he was a stud. I mean, I loved watching Manti Te'o.
That's
yeah,
all I got,
I'd say
bud.
Jaden Daniels, best player.
In college football history, I got it.
All right, man. I appreciate y'all for watching. Hopefully, we can get the previews done tomorrow, so we don't have to worry about it on Thanksgiving or anything. Big Week 13 rivalry week. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching.
Go Tigers.
I